Hi guys. So today we are going to start a whole lecture series in Java programming. Uh, Today's video is going to be a fairly simple video. All we're going to do is install the Java software development kit, the SDK, and also IntelliJ, the IDE that we will use to program in Java. So without further ado, let's sort of get into this. First things first, we have to download the Java SDK, and I'll show you how to get the latest version. So all you do is just do download OpenJDK, and if you scroll down, you will see something called adopt OpenJDK. So the reason I'm taking you through this process is because normally you would have gotten your JDK from Oracle, but we don't actually want to do this. We want to get the open source one, which is here. So click through that and you get to the OpenJDK website. So as you'll notice, there are 3 versions that you can download. Actually, there are other versions also, but there are 3 main versions: Java 8, Java 11, and Java 14. We will use the latest version. So all you do is click that. On the right hand side, it says you can choose from 2 JVM options. One is hotspot and one is OpenJ9. The default one of hotspot works for us right now, so let's do that. So we click that, save it. So I've actually already downloaded the JDK, so I'm not going to wait for it to finish downloading. I'm going to actually stop this, but you download the entire JDK and IntelliJ, and then we'll sort of continue later. So I'm now going to I'm going to stop this, clear the downloads, and now I'm going to show you how to download IntelliJ. So just type that, click on download, and click on download. And the download should start. So this is a fairly large download. Again, I've already downloaded this earlier to save time. So, but you need to download this, and once you've gotten both of them downloaded, you can move past the video. If not, you can pause the video here and then resume it once you've downloaded both. So since I've downloaded this, I'm going to stop this. Okay, clear the downloads, and here are my 2 pieces of software. One is the JDK and one is the IDE. So the reason we are going to install IntelliJ the IDE is it makes application development really simple if you are a Java developer. So it will help you a lot, and we will go through a lot of those tips and sort of how your shortcuts and how it helps you. But for now, in this video, we're just going to get it installed. So before you install the IDE, you should install Java. So let's do this by clicking on Java. Next, accept, next. Here we want to actually enable every single option. So all you do is you click here and say entire feature will be installed on local drive. Next, install, and now it's more or less unattended. You don't really have to bother. So while this is installing, I just wanted to go through those different versions of Java that you saw. One was JDK 8, the second one was JDK 11, and the latest one was JDK 14. So Java has this concept of long-term released supported versions. What that means is those versions will get security patches for a fairly long time, maybe years, compared to the other versions like Java 14, for example, which is not an LTS version. So for our case, we sort of wanted the latest version so we can use the latest features of Java. Just finish this. So now we just want to confirm that we've actually installed Java. So all you do is you open your command line. If you don't have a shortcut, I've got shortcuts here, but if you don't have a shortcut, you can just type PowerShell and pops up, right? So that's how you can do that. But for me, I've made shortcuts here, so I can just click through here. And to make sure that Java is installed, you type Java minus version. And if you get the output I've got, it may the build numbers may not be exactly the same. That's not a problem. But if you don't get this command, if you get something that says command not found, it means Java has not been installed properly. So maybe you can go back to the earlier step and sort of try to see why that happened. Okay, so now that we know we've got Java installed, let's install the IDE. So I'll click through on that. We don't need this software folder anymore. Yes. Next. So the reason I'm stepping you through these install steps is actually there's one step a little later, which this is this step. We want the 64-bit installer, and we want to update the context menu, and we want to create associations for all these files. This means that when your file browser sees a file that ends with these extensions, it will allow you to open this file as a Java file, for example. We don't care about the 32-bit stuff, and we want to update the path so that we know that Java is installed properly and IntelliJ is installed properly. So just click through next, install. Now this is pretty much unattended. This should happen pretty fast. So IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition is the one we're using, and this is the open source, the free version. It lacks a few features, but that's fine for now. It's more than what we need for our Java tutorials, and maybe later when we use Kotlin or some other programming language, I'll show you how to install plugins that will give you support for all these other languages. You just use one IDE for all sorts of projects, so it makes no difference. So while this is just installing, we've chosen to make a shortcut, so that's what you see here. And actually, when we actually start this up, I'll even pin it to the taskbar. So I prefer that, to sort of reduce clutter on the desktop. So let this just get done. And then once this is done, what we'll do is we'll create a test project, sort of a hello world project, just to make sure everything installed properly. If you didn't get Java installed properly, or there was an issue installing IntelliJ, then you can just sort of rewind this video and sort of go through the steps again. It says your computer must be restarted. We'll say restart manually later. So now what we can do is we can sort of start up IntelliJ, and I say do not import any settings because I want to start with a fresh install. So this kind of just takes you through some of the settings of IntelliJ and what sort of theme you want. I want this theme. I will accept the defaults right now, so don't worry about that. Later on, we'll sort of do a video which is only for IntelliJ. Now that IntelliJ is opened up, I can pin this to the taskbar and get rid of this, because clutter is clutter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a hello world project. So say create new project. Since we're going to be using Java is already pre-selected, and if you look at project SDK, it shows you the version of Java that IntelliJ has selected. If you can actually install multiple versions of Java, and so you can choose between multiple versions here. Since I've got only one installed, it's fine. So here I'm going to select the command line app project template. I'm just going to give this a name. So I'm going to say hello world app, and base package is com.company. Don't worry about that for now. Finish. And now IntelliJ will sort of just do its thing configuring the project, and it'll sort of open up. It's actually still doing some stuff. You can see it's indexing some of the files in our project. IntelliJ has a lot of handy tips that pop up, so you can sort of, maybe later on sort of go through some of that stuff. This is another thing I wanted to show you. Windows Defender, there's a warning that pops up here, and you can say fix. So it is better that you say fix and say configure automatically. So the reason I wanted to actually take you through this whole installation is just to sort of get some of those things right. It's still doing its stuff. So one of the things we'll do before we run any code is I'll just show you a bit of what the IntelliJ IDE looks like and the main windows to concentrate on. So the first one is a project pane. This contains your source code. So this file that you see here, main.java, it's within this package called com.company. Don't worry what that means. And there's a file called main.java. This file mimics this file. So if you close this and you double click here, you'll get the same file back, right? So this is your project pane. This is your code editor. And if you hit Alt 4, you should get your run. Maybe we haven't run anything yet. So let's do that. So what we'll do is we just write a simple hello world program. Don't worry about the code right now, and don't worry about some of the shortcuts that I'm using. I'll explain everything when we start programming in Java for real. So this is hello world. And now when you want to run code, you just go to the run menu and say run main. Another way to do it, faster, for example, is to just say Shift F10, which is what I prefer to do. So I'm going to do Shift F10, and you see at the bottom it says build, and it's actually going through a lot of stuff here, and it should build our code and sort of execute our code. Now this window here at the bottom, if you see it says run, this opens up because we ran the program for the first time. It wasn't there earlier. If you notice, IntelliJ has a lot of these numbers which have an underline there. So Alt 4 will toggle this. Similarly for the project, it's 1 is underlined. So if you say Alt 1, it toggles this, right? So if you want to remove some of the clutter, you can just quickly, remove these windows from view. And so yeah, that's it. So we've got IntelliJ up and running. We've got Java up and running. And if you get to this stage, then you're ready for the next videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.